Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Theme Park Academy. We've got a great show for you today. We are joined by Andy Westfall, who works for Herschend Family Entertainment, and we're going to be talking all things Wildwood Grove, Dollywood, and Silver Dollar City. But before we get to that, we have Theme Park Pulse for all your theme park news. So the news this week is going to be a little bit more focused on the Halloween season, considering we are in September and we are at the beginning of spooky season. So first things first, Six Flags has opened their first Fright Fest, and it's gone extreme this year. They're utilising a lot of intellectual property, which is great to see Six Flags moving into that direction. So they're working with RWS Global on the production of Stranger Things, The Conjuring, Saw, Army of the Dead. So they're working with some really great brands with Warner Brothers, Lionsgate, and Netflix. So it's really interesting to see them moving in this direction, because usually we only see this from Universal Studios. So good on you, Six Flags. I'm really excited to see what you do with this.
Kind of on the other side of the pond. I like how we're inverting Europe and US here.
Yeah.
Mark. PortAventura announced the opening of Hysteria on Boot Hill. It's a cutting-edge scare attraction, which is new for 24 Halloween. So it's set in the former Horror and Penitence building, and it's a thrilling walkthrough, which interestingly uses the MetaQuest 3 augmented reality glasses to blend physical and digital worlds. And guests navigate a haunted house while interacting with digital content that appears seamlessly layered over the physical environment. The innovative use of mixed reality elevates the scare factor, creating a deeply immersive, personalized horror experience that's set to terrify thrill seekers in entirely new ways. The fusion of physical sets with the interactive AR elements promises an experience unlike anything else in the theme park world. It's an exciting leap forward in fear-based entertainment. And I'm really curious because so many people have said for a long time that AR really is the future, that VR is already past. So I'm really curious to see the guest response on this when you get AR integrated with scare and just what kind of experience that creates. And then one last thing that we have not talked about, Mark, but I'm going to throw this at you. You're going to have to think off the top of your head. One thing I've been curious about now, kind of we're in Halloween season, and I've heard about these for a while, but I admittedly have not done one just because I'm too much of a chicken to do it, are the single person experiences like Blackout in New York. And I know there might be others. And I was wondering, do you think we're going to see those experiences, which are going to be very gory and really a one-person experience with an expensive cast? Do you see people like Universal or other parks getting into that? Or do you think that is just not something that could work with their business model?
It definitely could. I think a lot of kind of clients that I work with specifically in the past for scare mazes, for Halloween events, they have looked at creating them as well. And these are theme parks. These are people who need to churn over 10,000 people a night. And they've looked into them, Adam, and the way to do it is making it an upcharge experience, which obviously, because of the nature of it, you can't let everyone in the park go in anyway, because you'd still be there 4 years later, allowing the same guests from one evening in there.
Sure.
From a three-foot reason, as an upcharge experience, 100%. Really interestingly, it must have been about 10 or 15 years ago now. Apparently, Universal did look at doing this when Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando was in both the Islands of Adventure and the Studios Park. There was talks that they were going to do this alone-based experience. So it has been looked at by all accounts, and you can find documents and things online that Universal put forward.
Oh, interesting.
It is really interesting. So I think theme parks definitely can go on that trend. For me, an alone-based experience is terrifying, and the reason that we should be looking at them as producers, or clients should be looking at them, or parks, is because when you're in a group, you feel safe. You feel safe, safety in numbers. We all know the phrase. So the reason that they're really good is because from a storytelling perspective, you can really drill down on one guest and make sure that everything that you have planned, you've got more control over the situation that they're in. And for me, if we make really theatrical experiences out of an alone-based experience, it's definitely the way to look at going forward. I've produced 4 separate ones over the past, so they're close to my heart. I love doing them. But yeah, I definitely think there could be a space, and we might see them popping up in more commercial settings.
Thanks. I appreciate the insight. For anyone who doesn't know, Mark is definitely one of our experts on all things scare. So I love getting his opinion because I am someone who I shiver and shake whenever I go through any haunted house that is remotely scary. So I think we're a bit opposite in what we enjoy, but I love your insight on all the creative stuff for Halloween. Well, we are extremely excited today because we have a good friend of mine, a man who I've known for many years, Andy Westfall. He's the Senior Director of Strategic Planning and Development at Herschend Family Entertainment, over 25 years in the industry. Andy, it's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Adam. It's awesome. Mark, great to meet you as well, and I'm excited to chat.
Cool. So really our focus today is Wildwood Grove. You know, at Dollywood, that was a huge 2019 project for you guys, many years in the making. And we really just want to talk through that whole process from sort of the origination of the idea through its completion.
Yep, absolutely.
But first, I want to start a little bit so people understand, and us too, when it comes to Herschend Creative and the parks, how does your studio work with your different properties to kind of create a vision together?
I think the simplest way to summarize, Adam, the way the Herschend Creative Studio works is we're a delivery service. You know, or Uber, I guess you'd say it that way. You know, we work with the property to deliver their business goals and ambitions. Okay. So as opposed to some orgs where, you know, corporate's telling you, hey, you're getting this coaster, hey, you're getting this year, it's very inverted. It's very much an inverted pyramid for us. You know, we sit down with our property chiefs and our leaders and go, what do you need to drive your business? And they outline a profile, a brief, if you want to call it that, of, hey, I'm trying to accomplish this. I need to bring this many new people in. Here's what my goals and objectives are. And that really starts the studio to go into options mode to say, hey, we can do this. We can do this. You know, this meets your needs. What's the pro forma, what's the investment level, and we're the option people. So, you know, we work with the property to define the option. Hey, this is what you guys need. This will resonate. This will drive business. This is what the guest is looking for. And then the studio manages that process through the point where I would say you typically would get through construction drawings. Okay. And then we turn over to the property to execute. And then we become a support service. You know, we're there to art direct. We're there to fill in the gaps. We're there to deliver show and graphics and all the fun, colorful stuff that comes in the end. But, you know, really at the end of the day, we're a delivery service is the way I look at it. And I love it because, again, you're very, very linked with the product. You know, kind of why you're doing what you're doing and why you're delivering what you're delivering. So again, that's Herschend Creative Studio.
Very cool. So kind of zooming in on Dollywood a little bit, you know, there are obviously in the North American market, a lot of different theme parks. How would you distill down Dollywood's brand and sort of how they separate themselves from your competition?
I'm going to go with 2 A's today. I think it's authenticity and atmosphere. We talk a lot at Dollywood about authenticity, you know, with a capital A, I guess. You know, it's about being in the place. I mean, the Smoky Mountains does 14 million in attendance every year. We are in one of the most beautiful places in the world. And, you know, it's about being authentic to the stories of the region, about authentic to the character, authentic to Dolly Parton, and kind of bringing people into that. So authenticity is, you know, a big one for us. And it's atmosphere. You know, it's being in the woods. It's the atmosphere of Southern charm. It's the atmosphere that we create for a family to spend time in. You know, those 2 things of authenticity and atmosphere, I think, are the real big differentiators that gives Dollywood, you know, and I would also say Silver Dollar City as well too, that same positioning in the theme park world. You know, we're kind of real people. We don't do fictitious stuff.
I think with that as well, I think that's so that everything about the brand breathes exactly what you just said. All of the online marketing, all of the social media as well, all of the really rich imagery that you've got that you promote with online. I think it's kind of great to hear you say that because it really does exude the brand as well. Everything that you mentioned, it's very evidently part of a very key part of the company.
Absolutely, Mark. And what I'll tell you is it real? It's real when you get there and it delivers. I mean, you know, I've taken a lot of what I would call non-theme park people or cynical people who aren't theme park people to Dollywood, and boy, gosh, they've had a great time. They all have smiles on their face. And most of them who walk away with, that is not what I expected. Oh my gosh, that was great. What, you know, it's a place of surprises in a lot of ways. And it's a place where you realize, there is still a Southern hospitality to it that, again, really, really delivers and brings that authenticity, to bear. And when you have such a rich environment to leverage, Mark, it makes it really, really easy too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many great stories. There's so much natural beauty. I mean, all we're just trying to do is bring it to a couple million more people every year.
Brilliant.
That's super cool, Andy. And I guess zooming in a little more now that we know about Dollywood, what is Wildwood Grove? So when guests are walking through the park and they stumble upon this area, how would you describe that?
So Wildwood Grove, just from a standpoint, all right, we got the dog joining the podcast. I'll bring mine too. No, really, Dollywood was the biggest land expansion, Wildwood Grove was Dollywood's largest land expansion, kind of in the history of the park. And really, we hadn't had a land since, I think, 2008 prior to that. So it was a long time. So Wildwood Grove was a major family rides expansion. We went in, we developed 11 acres worth of real estate. We filled up 7 acres of that 11 with phase 1. And then we've gone through with phase 2 with Big Bear Mountain. And then there's some extra space left over for some fun stuff we'll talk about in the future. But Wildwood Grove really was an opportunity for us to create a whole new land and really kind of give people a little bit of a POV into the Smokies with a little bit of what I'll kind of say is a little bit of Dolly perspective. It's about, sort of the magic of the woods seen through a child's eyes, so things are always a little more colorful, have a little bit more persona. There's stories and sounds that kind of come to life. So it was our chance to kind of take you into the Smokies, but take you into a very stylized version of the Smokies that, again, delivers that childlike fancifulness that we really wanted to take there. We had a lot of browns and grays in the park, and really, Timber Canyon, which is where you leave to and go into Wildwood Grove, is about real industry and railroads and mining and all that kind of gritty, grimy stuff of the Smokies. We wanted to take you to a happier place, a place through those child's eyes that kind of, again, creates a space of wonder within a real naturalized world. So high level.
So with that, was when you think about sort of different parts of the park having different emotions, is sort of childhood and whimsy what you guys were going for in that Dollywood way for the area?
Yes, very much so. I mean, I think you'll see, when you're there, the buildings look realistic to character and style that you would see in the Smokies, sort of, early turn of the century, they have the details and the character and the texture, but the coloration just has that childlike overlay to it that brings a level of brightness. I would even say a level of femininity to the park where it wasn't there before, kind of give you a whole new fresh take on the Smokies, the Smoky environment, and kind of what that region is about and of. And, again, with all things we do, Herschend, it's all about creating spaces where the whole family can enjoy. It's that 4 to 94 kind of mentality that we approach with all of our projects of finding a space and creating a space where the whole family can enjoy it. It's not the kids going, I want to go over there, and my mom and dad are going over here, and the little ones are going to the back 40. For us, it's about family time and keeping that family unit together. And that was, again, I think one of the big motivators behind what we did with Wildwood Grove.
So kind of taking that childhood outlook or childlike outlook and thinking about, you guys truly have 3 generations visiting the park. When you thought about laying it out, what were you thinking about that you wanted them to experience in that way?
I think for us, Adam, it's always about, can you do it with grandma, or whoever, it's about creating those experiences, whether it's sticking your toes in the stream of the creek or getting on the back of the bear ride or finding rides that everyone can ride together. It's very much about that inclusive, I want to keep everybody together. And so for us, that's really key in kind of that decision making of what's the right product, what's the right mix. The other thing, for us with the park had gone through 6 years of tremendous growth. It was also about just creating real estate so we can put more people in the door. We had to kind of build the park out and find more real estate so that we could welcome more guests, frankly. Because, before that, the only other family area in the entire park was Country Fair, and it was packed with people. We had so many people in Country Fair, you almost couldn't move. And part of the reason and the impetus for why we went to Wildwood Grove was we needed the real estate. The families were starving for more product. And that was really a big, huge, fundamental driver of why we went to Wildwood Grove.
And with that as well, so you obviously talk about real estate and kind of trying to increase that. Have you seen an impact on the capacity of the park and kind of dwell time within the park as well? Have you seen an increase in that?
Absolutely, Mark. I mean, one of the things, if you've been to Dollywood, it's intimate. The scale is wonderful. It's buried in the hills. It's tree covered. When you go to a major amusement park, you expect a main street. You expect a big plaza where they have the nighttime event. We never had any of that, okay? We had all of these wonderful meandering paths and nooks and crannies in the hills. What Wildwood Grove gave us, and getting to the dwell time issue, was it gave us enough real estate where we could have nighttime events. We could have seasonal activations. This is now where we do all of our drone shows, our fireworks, our summer festival dance parties till late in the evening. So it extended our dwell time. It extended our day in a lot of ways because it gave us the real estate to kind of hold some of those festivals or festival activations that we didn't really have the real estate before, we leveraged the Wildwood Grove area. So it's been amazing at keeping people there even longer and really providing us more real estate for, our pumpkins overlays, our Christmas overlays, and then our summer festival overlays. So it's been a hugely successful in that.
Amazing.
And I know, Andy, in our industry, a lot of people think about timelines, right? Because things like a ride takes a long time to execute, from just deciding on the ride to purchasing to installation. How many rides were in this area, and how long did that whole creative process take as you went through selecting attractions and planning the area?
Do you want to know how many iterations of ride matrices we went through, Adam? It was
one or two at least, I'm guessing.
There were a couple in there. There always are. There always
Sure.
are, because it's one of those things where you have to have your objectives very clearly laid out to what you're trying to accomplish. Because I got to be honest, everybody on the project team, does it matter whether it's the park president, the designer, everyone comes with a lot of emotional baggage around rides. Well, I did that with my kid, or, I rode that at that park. And there's a point at which you kind of have to be very clear about, okay, what were your objectives here? Our objectives with Wildwood Grove were multi-generational rides, again, the 4 to 94. And if you have your objectives really clear about what you're trying to accomplish, the ride catalog kind of comes along. Okay. And, it's also when you're working with a mature park and trying to do a land addition, you kind of open up the refrigerator and go, well, I already have all these ingredients in the refrigerator. What am I missing in the recipe? And so for us, we knew we needed some things. We knew we needed some classics, and there were some surprises in some of the ride catalog that we showed, or ended up buying. But again, it was a great mix, and for the most part, all those rides served to put grandma and grandkid together on that same ride, which again is the big goal. Back to your timeline comment, though, our typical development cycle for a capital attraction, a sizable capital attraction, is a little shy of 3 years. I mean, that's our typical start to open day. With this project, we had to build 11 acres of real estate to do it in. So we had a whole year of land prep, of pushing dirt and dropping in power and stormwater mitigation and all that fun stuff that you really don't want to think about sometimes when you want to design a park. But no, there was a lot of logistics. So, I mean, we were 3.5 years on Wildwood Grove. And then, the construction team that delivered Wildwood Grove, was absolutely amazing, because those folks worked in a lake for the last 6 months. We had more rain before opening. There was a point where, people were standing in 2 feet of water in a construction site, and thousands upon thousands of yards of gravel went into that site just to keep it above water. They had more rain before opening than they knew what to do with. It was a challenge to get open, and we had a lot of great people in that project to help deliver it. But yeah, it's about 3.5 years start to finish on that one, Adam. And I think everyone would have loved to have had 4 if they had.
Sure. And that's really interesting, Andy, just because I know a lot of people from outside the industry may not realize that you need such a long runway to deliver something like this, that you are essentially creating an area, and in your case, creating the ground it stands on and all the infrastructure first.
And the one thing that I always say, and we're guilty of pulling the last minute, Hail Mary as well, and everyone has to do it because everyone needs to react. But some of our most successful projects across, the portfolio, be it, a Wild Eagle at Dollywood, or a Fire in the Hole at Silver Dollar City, or Wildwood Grove at Dollywood, these had the right runway to do everything correct. You got alignment on the objectives. You bought the right thing. Marketing was engaged from day one, so they knew exactly what they were going to market with at the same time you were developing. Everyone was, sort of working together as one union, rather than kind of the higgledy-piggledy that you get when you try and pull the trigger on something so late. So, that 3 years is sort of a magic mark for us to kind of do things right. Can we do it faster? Yeah. But you know what? To get it right, it takes time, which sometimes takes a lot of convincing.
Preaching to the choir on that one.
Yeah, I know I am.
Regarding the audience that travel to Dollywood as well, and obviously you've got a really loyal fan base of season pass holders as well. Have you found it different in terms of the way that your season pass holders interact with the area? Is there more of an emotional connection with them, or do you find actually some of your day visitors still have that kind of wow moment and emotional connection with the area that you've created?
It's funny, Mark. I mean, so on the first time visitors, let's start there. What I think you'll find with a lot of first time visitors is there's a level of surprise. Again, like I said, having brought a lot of new people to the park, people, especially first time visitors, don't know what to expect out of Dollywood, and I think we surprise them. I think one of the mottos you'll hear at Herschend is creating memories worth repeating. Okay. And it's a magical statement, because it's about, it's not just creating memories, it's creating memories that are good enough that you need to do them again. Yeah. Okay. And I think we really pride ourselves on surprising our guests in small and big ways, that bring them back and turn them into loyal fans. Are there challenges sometimes, Mark, with the first-time guests figuring out how to use us, how to get around? I mean, we are not a flat park in Florida that's easy to navigate. You got to climb up hills and over valleys. It's, and that's what makes it beautiful, because there's this sense of surprise and discovery as well, too. Yeah. So, I think we surprise our first-time visitors, and that's again, I think, what builds some of that loyalty. Going back to, the season pass base in Wildwood Grove. I mean, before Wildwood Grove, we had one consolidated children's area, in the park, which was our country fair area. We were underserving our core market. Our core market are families with young kids, and the 2 most popular attractions in the entire park have a 39-inch rider height. That's Big Bear Mountain and Fire Chaser Express. Okay. That speaks to the fact that we have so many people who want to bring their young families to Dollywood to enjoy it. So as far as, engaging with the season pass base, this was playing to your base in a lot of ways. I mean, they wanted more product. They wanted more stuff for them. They really didn't want another thrill coaster. They didn't want another thing that, we could yell at from the rafters from a product. They wanted more of what they were coming to Dollywood for, which was places to spend time with their family. So, I think, again, we surprised our new visitors, and we really gave our base what they really wanted, and we gave them more of it, which was, I think, highly successful from our standpoint.
I'm sure also County Fair probably got a little squeezed in after Lightning Rod opened, just because you had all those people at that end of the park. So you had reduced family capacity, but also it was super crowded next door. So it had to be really nice to move some of those families to the backside.
And again, Adam, this is the blessing and the curse of Dollywood. You know, we had these amazingly beautiful spaces and we had this amazingly beautiful park, but we are constrained by our topography, geography, and the boundaries we have of working in the mountains. Okay. So yes, country fair, there were days where you were shoulder to shoulder with everybody because there were that many families with young kids who wanted to get on those rides. And we just needed to give them more real estate. You know, we needed to find them extra spaces to stay, you know, so they could increase the dwell time, to your point, Mark, and actually put more people in the park. I mean, that was the thing from 2012 to 2019 was an exponential growth in Dollywood. We needed the real estate to put people in just to, you know, to keep the growth projections moving, to give us enough places, you know, to put folks. And it did that for us. And we're continuing to grow. We're going to continue to look for more real estate. So it's a good story.
That's brilliant. And talking about the kind of the growth, obviously we're not going to ask you for specific figures, but have you seen a growth in audience numbers in terms of when you did place that there, and obviously it influenced the capacity, have you seen a kind of uplift in visitor numbers as well through this area?
Oh yeah. I mean, and Mark, the 2019 with Wildwood Grove was the largest single year attendance growth in Dollywood's history. Wow. It was massive. What I will tell you across the portfolio, family lands move the needle. Okay. Again, the core of our audience has young kids, they're young families, and that's what they want, you know, and it as a product to deliver it does so well for the business because that's what people are craving. And, you know, and if you do it right and you give it the right character and you give it the heart that it needs, it's a home run. It really, really is.
Andy, I'm stealing that quote for my sales presentations now.
Are you?
Yes, just according to Andy Westfall.
Adam, you and I have talked about this for a long time. And it seems like everyone caught up to our conversations, Adam, or they weren't listening in. I mean, you and I have been talking about the value of the Gateway coaster for years. You know, that ride, the first ride that you can put your young son or daughter on with you is the most magical ride in any portfolio. Okay. Yeah. And that to me is that thing that a lot of people forget about, you know, and they want to go for marketing superlatives and in these big, huge things. But at the end of the day, it's like, what do you remember? You remember going on that ride with your daughter. And that's what your daughter remembers going on with you. And there's so much emotional connectivity to these rides in that category that you don't have in other categories. And I think that, again, to me, is what I love. You know, there's nothing better than sitting at the exit gates of something you built and watch the happy, smiling faces on the kids and the parents coming off. That is the best bonus in the world, Mark. It really, really is there. And I just love doing that. And again, it's about finding the right products that resonate. And again, I'm in that gateway category. I think is the sweet spot, and it's where we love to play as a company.
And I think the differentiator, Andy, too, is that when we say family coaster, so many places will just plop down a wild mouse. You guys spent a little more money on Fire Tracer and Big Bear to put in marquee coasters with marketable attributes, but had that 39-inch height requirement. Yeah. So all of a sudden, you're getting something that everybody who comes to the front gate can ride, and you can put it out on social and it sells itself too.
I mean, Adam, when you sit back and look at what we built for Big Bear Mountain, we built a hyper coaster length coaster with a 39-inch rider height. That's insane. I mean, a couple years back, people would think we were out of our mind, but you know what? It resonates so well. You know, the family is looking for the most thrilling multi-generational thing that they can get, you know, and it really is. And I think, to me, it's a no-brainer. It's where we need to be as an industry because that's where our core market is. Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now, Adam.
No, I love it. I love it. I mean, anytime you can bring families together or multi-generations together, I think it's a recipe for long-term success. And I think so often in our industry, we look short-term to push the gate now. But you guys are creating generations of fans at Dollywood, which is a completely different business model for a lot of folks.
Absolutely. I mean, and it goes back to, the blazing furies and the fires in the hole as well, too. It's about creating those first memories of being on a coaster, being on an attraction, having the right stories. And again, Mark, some stories with that authenticity. So we're pinning it to place. We're giving it some character. And, like I said, Adam, I mean, Fire Chaser, which we worked on so many moons ago when we both had hair. I don't think I ever had hair, but, those are things that still resonate. I mean, that's still the number 2 ride in that entire park, because you know what? It's the first thing you want to go on with mom and dad. And it's sticky, and it's sticky for a great reason, because it builds a lot of memories, and that's awesome.
So thank you so much, Andy, for that amazing insight into the work that you do and what your team does as well. So we are now at the Fast Pass round. So in this segment, we're going to fire 3 questions at you about theme parks, and we'd love to get your feedback as well. So Adam, you're first. Let's dive in.
Yeah, it's super easy one, Andy. What is your favorite amusement or theme park?
Okay, first of all, they're 2 separate things, so I have 2 answers. Okay.
Oh, that's fantastic. I like it.
No, they absolutely are 2 separate
things.
Yes. Okay, amusement park. I'm a Kennywood person. I absolutely love it. It is one of my favorite places. Go give Pittsburgh some love here. It is such a classic American park. Kennywood all day long. Theme park. I'm going to go to Europa Park. Let's give the Mock family some love. They have created something there that is absolutely magical. So those are going to be my 2.
Solid answers.
All right. Very good choices. Very good choices. Second question. Out of any attraction in the world, what is your favorite theme park attraction?
All right, Mark, I'm going to hit you with 2 here. Okay, so personally, okay, the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing today is the Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse. And I know most people would not put that out there, but I had like this magical epiphany as like a 7 or 8-year-old stuck in that treehouse. I'm like, people make these things. This is cool. I want to make this stuff. So the Swiss Family Treehouse has a magical moment for me. And I think followed closely by the donkey statue at Effling Park, which I also think are the best things in the theme park industry.
I love that.
I mean, it's so simple. It's sometimes you just don't want to take yourself serious. That's what the fun of this, it's magical. It's absolutely magical. Effling is another one of those parks that just absolutely wonderful as well.
And check that out on YouTube if you haven't seen it yet. We're not going to go into detail here as Mark tries to wrangle his dog, but check it out on YouTube or social channel. It's one of those Instagrammable moments before Instagram was a thing. It's fantastic.
You got to find out about it. You got to know.
Yes. All right.
I am so sorry for doing that. We've got deliveries coming today, and the delivery has just turned up right now. That's why the dog barked before, so I do apologize about that.
All good. Mark, we live in this hybrid world where it's dogs, it's kids, it's people getting vacuum cleaners out of the closet behind you. It's all good.
Our final question, Andy, what is a key trend that you see for the attractions industry over the next 5 years?
Okay, so this one comes from my kids. My kids are now Generation 2 D&D kids. I think, us Gen Xers were sort of at G1 when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons. I think we all grew up on building our own stories, choose your own adventure. I'm seeing a whole generation of kids now who are re-engaging in this. So for me, it's about role-playing and agency. I think there's going to be a lot more. You see that with the new Pudafu Saga City of Light project that just opened up in Asia, where people are donning personas, they're donning costumes, and they're entering worlds that they get to play in, and they're real worlds, not virtual worlds. So this whole idea of sort of role-playing agency, I think we're just going to keep continuing down that, because we have a whole generation of kids who are building their own stories and want to create their own stories. So how do we engage with that?
I love that. And I think a lot of people think it's a binary choice, or it has to be virtual or real world. And I agree. I think this younger generation is really comfortable storytelling in either. It's not like they choose one or the other. They like both of them. And I think we need to understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, it's about creating worlds for people to have their own adventures, not giving them the adventure. And I think that's, a little bit of the perspective that, you see these places where they build these amazing experiences, but they're linear, and you have to engage with them in one way and in one fashion. And what I think I'm seeing is people want to engage how they want to engage and weave and build their own story, as opposed to having it delivered to them or mandated to them.
I think it comes back to escapism, doesn't it? The whole reason we go to theme parks is we want to kind of escape the world that we're in for a couple of hours with a shared experience with people around you. And I think these kind of immersive experiences where it is choose your own destiny style, it's taking escapism to the full extent, isn't it? Where you are truly another person for an hour, 2 hours. Yeah. You're choosing what you do in that world in a kind of safe environment, and I love the idea of them, and I do think I completely agree. I think it's definitely kind of emerging,
and I think you're already seeing a ton, but you're going to see more and more escape room, escape game, kind of game challenge kind of attractions, and I think that's always been a challenge to how do you scale those sort of things to the worlds that we tend to work in. But I think what they're capturing in the market they're capturing is that need to go play in a different sort of tangible way than before. I mean, I spent all of Saturday evening in the dark at my my 14-year-old, today is her birthday, birthday party with an escape room with 12 other 14-year-olds. There was a lot of screaming, and the most low tech, high engagement escape room that was a bunch of pallets and padlocks in the middle of a cornfield. I mean, it's a blast. And people are wanting to engage with spaces like this and kind of create their own narrative, and that's the fun about these places. Sorry, I'm rambling.
I love it.
It's great. Completely agree.
No, that's great. Well, Andy, we just want to say thank you so much. We really appreciate being on the podcast, and even your office is on brand for Herschend and Dollywood, so I love it.
You like the cabin? You like the cabin? Yes. This is my office. This isn't a virtual background, just so you know. Yeah, great. Again, thank you guys. Appreciate the chance to chat, share, and by all means, reach out if you need anything.
So to wrap it up,
thank
you so much, Andy. Be sure to follow Dollywood on the socials at Dollywood. Thanks again to our friends at Blue Loop, also at Blue Loop, to follow them. And we really appreciate everyone tuning in. And thanks, Andy, for joining us on Theme Park Academy.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.